Okay, so they finally released the full version of this next time on the Owl House animation test pilot, whatever you want to call it, and it was really cool to see some of the old ideas for the show. Like, I didn't even know a full version of this existed, let alone one that was voice acted and everything. It's interesting to finally see these original story beats, as there's so many unique ideas that never got to be fleshed out. From Loose riding an animal to actually wielding Owlbert to the entire magic system potentially being completely different, it's clear that there were a lot of directions the story could have gone in. Following suit with this, I've seen a lot of people speculating that the main story it's presented is different from what we got in the show, as Ida seems to express that she doesn't think she can train Loose. I've seen a lot of different theories for what this original story was. I think the general understanding is that Ida was at first reluctant, completely refusing to train Loose as she didn't think she could do it, with Loose then running off to study magic in other ways, and Ida only beginning to warm up to her after. However, if we examine these clips in a more realistic context, I think it becomes apparent that this isn't the case, and that the supposedly different storyline that we see in this fleshed out test is actually a lot more similar to the final show than people think. With this animation test being structured almost like a trailer, it's as if each of these clips could have been from their own episode, with every way that Loose says she's gonna learn magic like its own unique adventure that we only get a piece of. This overarching narrative of Loose and Ida talking only seems to be a wider story because of the way it's framed, with the other clips mixed in, thus giving it new context and drawing it out to seem like a much larger conflict. In reality, all the clips of Ida talking to Loose would have clearly come from the same scene, so it's only in analyzing it this way instead that we'd be able to determine the real story. At the start of this scene, Ida is reluctant, but as Loose explains all the ways she's gonna try, Ida then recognizes her determination and caves, agreeing to train her literally right away. I think because of the way it's laid out, people are treating it as if days had gone by. But in reality, as again, it's all from the same scene, Ida changes her mind in what is literally seconds. Everyone's treating it like Ida wasn't gonna train her, but Ida was never not gonna train her. This arc is exactly the same as the one that we get in the show, it's just the format it's presented in that's longer and drawn out. Just watch this clip as if it were in an episode, and then see how similar it is to anything in season 1.
I want to be a witch. Will you teach me?
What? Oh, no. That's not gonna happen. Besides, humans don't have magical powers.
I don't care. I'll find a way. King used to know magic. He can teach me. I'll befriend students at the Magic Academy and learn from them. I'll hunt down the most powerful wizards and steal their secrets.
All right. I'll teach you how to be a witch. But wielding magic is difficult and dangerous. Think you're ready for the challenge?
How hard could it be?
In analyzing it this way, I think it's clear that Ida's arc with Loose was never going to be different, with Ida always being unsure of trusting Loose's capabilities, and thus learning to trust her more as she progressed and matured. I think a lot of the other clips reinforce this as well, as despite there being a wealth of new ideas in the test, several of these other concept episodes are very similar to ones that have actually aired. The clearest examples of this are the clips that are most similar to the first couple episodes, with the first examples resembling parts of Witches Before Wizards, and this one having a similar plot to I Was a Teenage Abomination. There are definitely some obvious variants, like,
Hi, I'm Paulina.
but for the most part I think that Loose's progression was always meant to be the same, with Loose always being intended to learn some things on her own, and her trials to become a witch always under the tentative guidance of Ida. I think the same can be said for King's backstory as well, as yes, it's presented differently in this telling of the story, with it being expressed in this version that he used to know magic. But while this does mean his powers would have worked a little differently, I think his progression toward them would have stayed mostly the same, as it still seems he's foggy on the details of his history and would have thus still needed to learn about it to figure out his magic, with the main difference being that he wouldn't have to grow into them. I wonder if initially he was meant to be older, but was nonetheless intended to gain his powers later on. With all these moments being shone in a different light, I think it's clear now that while the animation test had some crazy ideas, the bones of our Owl House had been there from the start. But with so many of these ideas ending up in final episodes, all this got me thinking, what else is in this pilot that we might still see in the show? I don't think it's a coincidence that this older piece of content was just released now, right before the finale, instead of waiting until after. I think it was actually a very tactical decision, with a couple key moments still hiding in these clips, having actually been saved for the show's final episode. But let me know what you think in the comments, cause honestly, I don't know, man. And follow for the next part where we take a look at what bits from this test we might see in the finale. There are definitely some obvious variants, like, Hi, I'm Paulina.